An Arctic expedition accidentally awakens a creature that has been sleeping since the time of prehistoric civilizations. Now, the scientists must not only fight to survive, but also work with the military to stop an ancient nightmare from returning to the world of the living. A multinational team of 19 geologists sets out for the Arctic. Once near the North Pole, they begin a series of underwater detonations, carefully analyzing the resulting data. Julia and Oscar, working from a tent position directly above the Nansen Basin, are dropping charges every 3 minutes. But the expedition leader, dissatisfied with the weak results, orders them to double the explosive load and return to base immediately afterward. Obeying the order, Oscar deploys a double dose of explosives into the water, completely unaware that directly beneath them, a Russian military submarine, the Yermak, is silently passing through. Commanded by Captain First Rank Alexander Voronin, the sub isn't just observing, it's monitoring every single blast in high detail. Still, the crew chooses not to react. The explosions are too weak to damage the hull or interfere with their classified mission. As the sub continues toward its destination, still nearly 1,000 kilometers away, the crew begins to notice something strange. At first, it's just unexplained activity. Then a crew member reports that something is closing in on them. Moments later, someone announces that the ocean floor is rising. It sounds insane, but so is what's happening. The ice above begins to crack and collapse, putting the scientific team in immediate danger. Julia and Oscar retreat, escaping in an all-terrain vehicle, but they lose control, and the vehicle explodes. Forced to continue on foot, the two scientists are soon the only survivors as a massive, unknown force destroys the geological station, killing 17 others. Now alone, Julia and Oscar face certain death, stranded in the freezing wilderness with no food, no supplies, and no way to call for help. Meanwhile, panic erupts aboard the submarine. A mysterious biological entity is attacking them. Alexander realizes something monstrous is heading straight for them and orders an emergency course change, but it's too late. The creature strikes the vessel, killing many on impact. Knowing the sub is doomed, Alexander hits the emergency beacon, launching a buoy with their coordinates into the sea. Moments later, the Yermak vanishes beneath the waters of the Greenland Sea, never to be seen again. That morning, Admiral Belousov at the Russian Navy's main headquarters receives an urgent message. Contact with the submarine has been lost. He considers it an irreparable loss, and immediately orders a rescue mission. A nuclear submarine, Zapalari, is dispatched to locate the missing vessel. On board the lost sub was a classified weapons system that cannot be allowed to fall into enemy hands. The objective is clear: find it and destroy it at all costs. Command of the Zapalari is assigned to Captain Second Rank Viktor Voronin, the younger brother of Alexander, commander of the missing sub. Given the complicated relationship between the two brothers, Rear Admiral Olshansky, known for his harsh and uncompromising nature, is ordered to oversee the operation. He may act as an observer, or take full command if Victor's personal connection clouds his judgment. Upon receiving his orders, Victor rushes home to prepare. Their mother is deeply concerned. Years ago, their father, also a sailor, died saving his crew. She fears history may repeat itself. Before Victor leaves, she gives him his late father's watch and pleads with him to come back alive. That evening, Victor arrives at the port, where he meets Rear Admiral Olshansky and his trusted second-in-command, Tatarinov. The crew boards quickly, securing a deep-sea submersible designed to search for the wreck. Preparations are made, and the vessel departs. Meanwhile, Julia and Oscar continue their desperate struggle to survive. They find a spot with a weak signal, but it's perched dangerously at the edge of a cliff. Their attempts to contact a Norwegian oil platform fail, and poor weather conditions render their signal flares useless. Eventually, they stumble upon the emergency beacon launched from the Yermak. Realizing it's their best hope, they decide to stay near it, praying someone will come. As the Zapalari approaches international waters, Victor gives the order to dive. Only then is he briefed on the full scope of the mission. The operation is top secret. Most of the crew only know fragments of the truth. Victor is the only one who understands the full gravity of the situation. Even though his brother may still be alive on the sunken submarine, Victor must remain focused. His priority is to ensure the classified weapon never falls into enemy hands, even if it means destroying it. Time and oxygen are running out. Victor orders full speed ahead in hopes of saving any survivors. En route, the crew picks up a transmission signal and changes course toward it. But moments later, something begins that defies logic and reason. Dozens of massive whales surround the submarine, behaving as if they're trying to block or disable it. Some crew members suggest it's no coincidence, perhaps even a warning, but most dismiss the idea as nonsense. To shake them, Victor orders the sub to dive deeper, but the whales follow. Frustrated, Rear Admiral Olshansky takes command and orders the use of a high-frequency deterrent signal. It may harm the mammals, but he doesn't care, as long as the mission moves forward. The whales finally retreat, but within seconds, a strange noise is detected. The crew senses something else nearby, and then, a crew member reports the impossible. The ocean floor is rising. It soon becomes clear that they're being hunted by an unidentified biological entity of massive size. The Rear Admiral suggests launching torpedoes and attacking the potential threat, but Victor makes a different call, one that seems reckless. A captain of the second rank orders the sub to ascend, then locate an ice channel and enter it, hoping to prevent the creature from closing in. The submarine slips into the frozen tunnel, and for a moment, it seems like the unknown monster has retreated. But the crew quickly realizes they're trapped. They're heading straight for a wall of ice, and there's no way to turn back. Just moments from a deadly collision, the crew manages to fire up the turbines and bring the sub to a stop, just 1 meter from the ice wall. With the threat seemingly gone, the crew breathes a sigh of relief and tries to make sense of what just happened. The Rear Admiral, however, is furious with Victor. His top priority is the safety of the vessel and its crew, and he sees Victor's risky maneuvers as reckless and unacceptable. The damage to the submarine is significant, and Victor will be held accountable once they return to port. A few hours later, the Zeppelin reaches the disaster zone and breaks through the ice to the surface. There, they encounter Julia and Oscar, who recount the horrors they witnessed just days earlier. The Rear Admiral immediately forbids any rescue effort, viewing the foreigners as a potential threat. But Victor disobeys orders again and insists on saving everyone they come across, committing what the Admiral sees as his second strike out of 3. The submarine soon dives back underwater to search for the sunken vessel within a 20-kilometer radius. During a routine medical check, it's discovered that Julia is actually Russian, which means they can question her about the incident and its possible causes. Victor decides to speak with her himself and learns that her family were scientists who fled to Sweden during the collapse of the Soviet Union. She reveals the location where they found the buoy and where underwater explosions were conducted. As she answers a series of technical questions about the blast, its strength, the type of explosives used, and the number of charges, Julia doesn't realize she may be putting herself and Oscar in serious danger. The scientist fears that the Russians will blame them for the submarine's destruction and sentence them to death. Victor is determined to continue the search, convinced the missing crew may still be alive. The Rear Admiral, however, responds with open skepticism. He believes they're either dead or beyond saving, especially given the time constraints. Making matters worse, their communications equipment was damaged during the ice tunnel passage, leaving them unable to contact base or transmit coordinates. In the Admiral's view, the only logical course of action is to retreat, return to port, and come back later with full military support. But once again, Victor goes against orders and proposes heading toward the sunken geology base. Tensions flare, and a full-blown conflict seems inevitable, until the Rear Admiral gives him one last chance. The only reason he relents is because Victor's late father had once been his commanding officer. Victor is beginning to lose hope of rescuing his brother, but he still dreams of helping him. They had always been rivals, yet now it seems Victor is willing to do anything for Alexander. His first officer supports him, insisting there's still a chance, and that they're prepared to go to extreme lengths to complete the mission. While scanning the seabed, the submarine sends out a powerful acoustic signal for sonar mapping, but the sound disturbs something ancient lurking in the deep, something that suddenly resumes its hunt for the vessel. Victor orders a course correction, but the new heading leads them straight toward a Norwegian oil platform. Realizing the foreigners have likely spotted them, the submarine surfaces. Victor instructs the crew to raise the periscope to get a look at the platform, but what he sees is horrifying. Drawn by the noise, the monster doesn't go after the submarine, it attacks the platform. A colossal creature, octopus-like in shape, bursts from the depths and crushes the rig with its massive claws. Victor watches in shock, as does the entire crew, as the beast destroys the installation with terrifying force. They come to a grim realization. The geological expedition and the underwater detonations must have awakened this ancient creature from its millennia-long slumber. The submarine tries to retreat, but once the platform is destroyed, the monster turns its attention back to the vessel and begins closing in. Victor orders an emergency escape and urges the crew to begin evasive maneuvers. But Rear Admiral Olshansky sees this as Victor's third, and final, mistake. Taking command of the submarine himself, Olshansky orders 2 torpedoes prepared and launched. The crew hears the explosions and hopes that it's over, but it's not. The blasts only enrage the creature further. Olshansky gives the order to fire 2 more torpedoes. Again, there are explosions, but the monster keeps coming, drawing closer with every second. The escalating crisis throws Olshansky into panic. Unable to think clearly or issue commands, he freezes. For the first time, Victor sees fear in the commander's eyes. Seizing the moment, he retakes control of the submarine. The second-rank captain gives the order to change course, but it's already too late. The monster slams the sub with its enormous tentacles, forcing it deeper into the ocean. Devastating blows rain down on the hull, causing breaches in several compartments. A fire breaks out in the torpedo bay. Victor prepares to blow the ballast and issue firefighting commands, but suddenly, a realization hits him. The creature is tracking them by sound. The louder the noise, the more precisely it attacks. That means the only way to survive is to become silent. Victor makes a bold call. He orders the crew to enter silent mode. Every engine and turbine is shut down. No one is allowed to make a sound. Even a single cough or sneeze could give away their position and mean instant death. With only stabilizers in use, the crew lets the current guide them, drifting silently in hopes of escaping the monstrous threat overhead. Back in the torpedo bay, the fire rages, but putting it out would mean making noise, and noise means death. A portion of the crew is forced to watch the flames and choke on smoke, all while staying completely silent, sacrificing themselves so the rest may live. Not hearing the vessel, the monster retreats. This gives the crew a chance to begin the rescue operation. They struggle to evacuate the wounded, then seal off the torpedo bay to release Freon and extinguish the fire. Everyone is saved, no casualties, but the submarine is now unarmed and unable to defend itself if the threat returns. With medical personnel in short supply, Julia and Oscar assist the injured. Julia initially responds to the captain with hostility and mistrust, but her opinion shifts when she learns it was Victor, not the rear admiral as she and Oscar had assumed, who ordered them to be brought aboard. The command team gathers to discuss their next move. The crew reports that most systems are damaged, and the hull has sustained multiple cracks that could rupture under deeper pressure. They have no weapons, no communications, and no way to defend themselves. Taking all this into account, Victor realizes the only option is to retreat. Pushing forward would be reckless and might cost them the submarine and more lives. The crew begins to head back, until Julia seizes the opportunity to speak with the captain in private. She reveals that the creature chasing them is the Kraken. It hasn't been seen in 5,000 years, but the explosions woke it, and now nothing can stop it. If they don't destroy it, it will kill hundreds, maybe thousands, of people who cross its path in the water. She also believes its lair is near the Nansen Basin, and that's where they should search for the sunken vessel Adam and Yermak. Victor hesitates, but then a wounded crew member brings urgent news. While the ship was running silent, he recorded strange sounds. When they play the recording, it becomes clear. Someone was knocking on the metal hull from the outside. That means their colleagues are still alive and waiting for rescue. After confirming that the monster is no longer nearby, the captain changes his mind once again. He orders the crew to head toward the location of the sunken ship. He knows the risk, but the crew supports his decision. They understand, saving their comrades is worth putting their own lives on the line. Finding nothing, the assistant suggests diving deeper. Victor agrees, but as soon as they start descending, the hull begins to groan and crack. Bolts fly in all directions, and the pipes burst under the pressure. The captain orders an immediate return to the previous depth. Soon, they're informed that they've reached the edge of an abyss, about 5,000 meters deep. The submarine can't go any lower, but the signal is coming from the gorge below, where the sunken ship is likely located. Victor decides to descend in the bathyscaphe, but the second pilot is injured. The captain then entrusts the submarine to the rear admiral so he can serve as the second pilot and join Koshkin. Descending beyond 1,800 meters, the bathyscaphe begins to groan under the pressure as well. Realizing this is its maximum depth, they decide to survey the area, hoping for a miracle. Luckily, they discover a rocky ledge that has become a graveyard for hundreds of ships, including their colleague submarine. After locating the right vessel, Koshkin struggles but manages to dock with it. Inside, it's eerily quiet. It seems like they're too late and everyone is dead, but that's not the case. The crew members are wounded, exhausted, and starving, but alive, and they greet Victor with relief, especially his brother, Alexander, who is overjoyed to see him. There are 39 survivors aboard the sunken submarine, but the bathyscaphe can't hold that many people. They decide to evacuate in 2 trips. After taking 20 people aboard, Koshkin prepares to depart, while Victor stays with his brother in the sunken sub. He sends a wounded crew member in his place. Acting carelessly, the crew member makes a mistake, causing the submarine to begin a slow slide deeper into the abyss. Realizing time is running out, Koshkin leaves the transmitter behind, but the assistant insists it be turned off, worried the signal could attract the Kraken. Unfortunately, the monster does hear it and starts moving toward their location. The wounded pilot can no longer dive, so Oscar reluctantly steps in to take his place. Koshkin and Oscar descend once more, determined to locate the sunken submarine and rescue the remaining crew. Meanwhile, the Kraken has found the active submarine and could easily destroy it. In a desperate move, the rear admiral orders the sub to settle on the seabed nearby, but the depth is critical, and the vessel begins to groan and crack. Realizing they can't wait any longer, they initiate a rapid ascent. By sheer luck for them, and misfortune for everyone else, the bathyscaphe accidentally hits the transmitter, breaking it and causing it to emit a loud, shrill beeping. The Kraken hears the noise and abandons the active submarine, turning its attention to those below. Koshkin and Oscar fail to locate the sunken sub a second time, but Victor activates the equipment needed to transmit a signal. This allows the team to pinpoint the submarine's location and enter the codes to destroy the secret weapon. Unfortunately, some of the equipment is damaged, so the code must be re-entered manually in the torpedo compartment. Alexander has a broken arm, and the others are in terrible condition, so Victor decides to go alone. He navigates through a water-flooded passage and contacts his brother to coordinate their actions. The rest of the crew evacuates into the bathyscaphe, but Victor and Alexander remain inside the submarine. The Kraken attacks, ripping the sub in two. It wraps its massive tentacles around the remaining section and slowly crushes it. The brothers seem doomed, but they refuse to give up. Working together, they activate the secret weapon, unleashing a pulse of unimaginable power. The energy reaches into space and obliterates the Kraken, literally incinerating it and tearing it apart. Realizing the monster is destroyed, the brothers escape, urgently fleeing the sinking sub. At one point, they lose sight of each other, but neither hesitates to risk everything to save the other. They overcome every obstacle and reach the bathyscaphe, but a new challenge awaits. The docking mechanism has jammed, preventing the bathyscaphe from detaching. The situation grows critical. The brothers have initiated the countdown for the full destruction of the secret weapon, and the submarine is plummeting. If they don't detach, the pressure alone will crush them. With only seconds to spare, Alexander pulls the backup lever, releasing the bathyscaphe. They drift a few meters away just as the submarine explodes. The bathyscaphe spins violently, but miraculously surfaces. Both teams return heroically to port, greeted by the High Command and the brothers' mother, who beams with pride at her son's courage. Can we really handle the truth that the Earth never truly belonged to us, but merely tolerated our presence? Share your thoughts in the comments down below, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.